Hello, everybody, and we're live. Right, so what's this stream going to be about today? Well, as you know, I don't put a great deal of content out. I tend to spend most of my time going into other people's streams. So I've done a few debates and stuff like that, but I haven't actually put anything out on my channel. And surprisingly enough, my channel has started to grow. I think I've got something like 80 odd subscribers now. And when I first started, I think I had something like about 40. So I think it's only fair that I actually start putting some content out, or at least showing some sort of stuff that I'm doing, even if I'm not actually putting it on my channel. So what's this one about then? Well, this was a stream that I was on back in February, and I was debating Iger Television on the flat Earth. It wasn't a planned debate; it was just something I sort of like just stumbled into, and Iger then did a review of that. So this is basically the review of him doing a review of the debate that we had, and then I come into the stream while he's doing the review. So we basically start again. I will apologise. At the beginning, his microphone was really bad, and it was extremely difficult to understand what he was saying. That lasts for about 20 minutes. So the first 20 minutes is going to be painful trying to listen to what he's saying. The first couple of minutes, I think he wants to go into some sort of like some sort of prayer or something. But I think his microphone was muted. So for the first couple of minutes, it's muted. But I do want to play the thing in its full entirety. I don't want to split it up. I want to do the full thing. What's the problem with Iger? Right. I mean, Iger, don't get me wrong, I get on with him all right. I think he's even subscribed to my channel, and I've had a few conversations with him. But he was on Modern Day Debates last night, debating FTFE again on the flat Earth. And he used exactly the same video and exactly the same arguments, verbatim, to what he did with me. No changes in whatsoever. Everything was exactly the same. Now, Iger's problem is he doesn't listen to what you're telling him, and he's not interested in what you're telling him. And you can spot this because you'll be partway through saying something, and he will immediately interrupt you, change the subject, and talk about something that you won't even talk. He doesn't let you finish your conversation. And also, when you do get something out and you do tell him or explain something to him which proves him wrong, he just hand waves it away. You'll see this in the debate later on when I turn up and I show him exactly how it works. I'll tell you what it is. He argues something about the photos of the Earth taken from space. The continents are different sizes. So I explained to him that this is fully explainable and how it's done. And basically the argument is if a satellite takes a photo of the Earth, you obviously get a full picture of the Earth, but then you'll see another photograph of the Earth, but the continents will be vastly different sizes. And it is true. I mean, when I first started watching flat Earth arguments, that was one that got me head scratched. I think, well, how was that? Yeah, they've got a point there. They're clearly showing that these pictures from space have got continents, they're different size, but the globes are same size, but the continents are different. Something's going on. I didn't have an answer for it at the time, and I must admit it was FTFE or somebody like that who mentioned it and explained how it works. So I actually do it live for him. I explain how it's done. Basically, these satellites are taking the pictures at different distances. One of them is zooming in further than the other one is. So I get my globe. I basically get him to pick a continent. I take a photo of it. Then I take another photo of it from a further distance, but zoom in. And then I show him the pictures on the screen, showing that the continents, the globe's the same size, but the continents are two vastly different sizes. And explaining that this is what is happening out in space. The satellites are at two different distances. One's zoomed in, one isn't zoomed in as much. It's as if he doesn't even hear me. He just basically hand waves it away. And then last night on the debate, on Modern Day Debates, the same subject came up. And he can't say that he hadn't heard the argument before because I presented the argument with him. And I actually showed him me doing it live for him rather than just showing two photographs. FTFE last night showed him two photographs of the same globe with the continents different sizes. And he basically just hand waves it away. So, like I say, he doesn't listen to a single word that you say. He's not interested in listening to anything you say because he changes the subject so many times. Also, when he's presenting an argument, he tends to go on a tangent. He will mention 4, 5, 6 different things all in one sentence. So it makes it impossible for you to address all his arguments, because you're only going to remember the last 2 or 3, because he'll take 2 or 3 minutes to come out with all his stuff. So anyway, what we'll do then is I'll jump into the start sharing the screen. Like I say, I do apologise. The first couple of minutes it might be quiet, and then when he comes on, his microphone is really bad. But after the point where I come in, me and him having the conversation, the microphone's fine. You can hear us talking fine, and that is probably the most interesting bit, because this is when we go into more details. I have put a link to his channel in the description. By all means, go have a look at his stuff. You'll see what I mean. But all I will ask is, attack his arguments, but don't attack the person. I think it's unfair to do that. You should address arguments, not the person. Yes, I have criticised him, but I think they're legitimate criticisms, because, like I say, it doesn't address what you're saying. So right, just bear with me while I share my screen and get it started. I will be floating about in the chat while this is on, and like I said, just bear with the first 20 minutes, half an hour. It is a bit painful, but you can hear me all right. Right, so I'll jump into it and I'll start sharing it. Right, I don't know what's happening there. I don't seem to have any volume on it. Let me just see what I'm doing wrong. If I stop sharing, maybe I didn't share the volume on it, so I'll just stop sharing that. Yeah, I don't seem to have any volume on it. Right, my volume's going through on that. Right. Let me just try this again. Share screen. Oh, no, it's working. Symbolism and Illuminati, New World Order, and also the Flat Earth. We debated. He's done a bunch of debates on Mother Earth Day, at least 4, I think. He's pretty good. Yeah, I've seen a couple.
Good. Who is it?
Well, yeah, he's good at spinning a lot of stuff out, Iger, but actually everything that he says, when you look it up, it sounds really good when he says it, but when you look at what he says, he's wrong on everything.
Right, and you say that about everything I say, so yeah.
I'm sorry, it's really hard to hear what you're saying.
My bad. What I'm showing now is called an analema. I spelled it wrong. It's analema.
Oh yeah, that's the tracking of the sun. Yeah.
Tracking of the sun. So as the year passes, it makes a figure of 8 above the sky. And you know, if you look at your globe, it has an analema. So it's that's what I was talking about earlier. I forgot what the point was, but it makes sense on the.
Paul, who are you debating on Modern Day Debate?
Witsy gets it.
Sorry, say again.
Wits it, gets it.
Okay. All right. I haven't heard much about him or her.
He's sharp, bro.
Yeah,
I just started. I actually Praise referred him to me. He's like, because I think he debated one of his debates. He's like, you got to watch this guy. He's good. And then so I watched one of his debates. I've been following him for probably like 2 or 3 months. He's big friends with Nathan Thompson. They're taking a tour around the country right now. Doing, I don't know, if you go on his channel, they've been taking a tour around the country. They visited the Georgia Guidestones last week. I haven't been keeping track of everything they've been doing, but him and Nathan Thompson, they've been traveling the country together, America together, in the RV, which is it's pretty cool. But I don't know. He's sharp, bro. He's sharp. He really is sharp. I will enjoy to watch that debate, Paul. I'm glad you're debating him and not me, because he's pretty sharp.
Yeah, he's got a spiel. He's got a spiel that he throws out. But like I say, when you actually go back and listen to what he's actually said, there's no evidence to what he says at all. There really isn't. It sounds really good because he spills all this stuff out, and it sounds really, really good when he spills it all out, and he puts that much information out at once that you can't process it. So it sounds really good, but when, like I say, when you go back and listen to what he said, is no, every single point he makes is wrong or irrelevant, or it's irrelevant to the flat earth. It's like when people they'll argue that you can't have pressure next to a vacuum. That's got nothing to do with the shape of the earth. But
well, it makes a lot of sense, actually. I used to like telling people, like, you know, oxygen. I mean, the ozone layer is made out of oxygen. So here you got water that's full of oxygen, and it's slowly rising and rising and rising till it hits the ozone layer. And then at that point, gravity just bam decides to kick in. You know, it wasn't the oxygen wasn't affected by the gravity when it was closer to the Earth at the bottom of the ocean. But as it's rising up to the top, that's when gravity just decides to trap in the oxygen. So yeah, it does. That's why we have the firmament in the Christian flat Earth model, because there's a lot of flat earthers that are not Christian, and they're going to take you to some New Age theology or whatever. But he said, which I guess is actually a Christian, not flat earther. So I like that about him. There's not that many on YouTube. But there's a couple that celebrate truth, but they don't usually do debates. He's one of the ones that'll go out and do debates. So it's pretty cool. Like I said, I look forward to watching that debate, especially because you're in there. I debated you before, so I think it'll be. I'm definitely gonna watch it.
Yeah, it'll be interesting if it goes ahead. It'll be interesting.
What does keep the ozone layer from escaping into the infinite vacuum of space as we're spinning 1,000 miles per hour and orbiting the sun at 66,600 miles per hour through the vacuum of space? What does keep the oxygen in place?
I can hardly hear what you're saying, Iger, but I heard you saying about rotating at 1,000 miles an hour. But like I said to you before, no matter how many times you say that, you'll never, ever measure rotation in miles per hour. That's a flat Earth thing to make it sound like we're going really, really fast, and we're not. We rotate once per 24 hours. Rotation is never measured in miles per hour, because depending on the size of the disc, you can have two discs rotating at exactly the same revolutions per minute per hour. But if one disc is bigger or smaller than the other, obviously the linear speed is different, and you never ever measure rotation by linear speed. You measure it in rotations, and it's one rotation per hour. And we go around the sun. That's one rotation per 365 days.
So how fast is it in miles per hour?
It doesn't matter, because the speed is irrelevant. It's one rotation per year. That's what it is. So
you're not even going to tell us what the speed is. You're just going to say we're telling you what the speed is, but you're just going to say that's something only flat earthers say.
Yeah, is it something like 66 million miles per hour, something like that?
Well, the thing is, because we're in an elliptical orbit, so varies from 64,000 miles per hour to 70,000 miles per hour. So at one point we are going around the sun at 66,666 miles per hour. In actual miles, I mean, you could say one time every 365 days, but then you're taking all the science and the measurements away from it, because you don't want to say the numbers yourself, because you know how ridiculous they sound. Which is clever. It's clever, but the reality is these are
Iger, the reason they sound ridiculous. Iger, the reason they sound ridiculous is because you're measuring it in miles per hour. Miles per hour or miles in space is absolutely nothing. You're looking at it on your perspective. You was this little speck on the your little tiny speck on the Earth, and the Earth is a little tiny speck in the universe. So you're using measurements from the Earth, making them sound really, really big, but in the vast size of space, the measurements are nothing. Them speeds are nothing. Absolutely nothing. 1,000 miles an hour. If you imagine if you got into a spaceship and set off into space, traveling at 1,000 miles an hour, in your lifetime you're going to travel nothing in the vastness of the universe. You've covered no distance at all. 1,000 miles an hour is not fast enough to go anywhere when it comes to space. When we look at 1,000 miles an hour, we think, well, 1,000 miles an hour, spinning 1,000 miles an hour. How do we stay on? We'll stay on because we don't spin at 1,000 miles an hour. We rotate once in a 24-hour period. So in 24 hours, that does one circle. That is nothing. It's no movement at all. So using 1,000 miles an hour is irrelevant. It sounds a lot to us, but like I say, when it comes to a rotation, the size of the Earth rotating 1,000 miles an hour in 24 hours is nothing whatsoever. It's half the speed of the hour hand of a clock. It literally is half the speed of an hour hand of a clock. So like I said, the speed is irrelevant. And 66 million miles an hour in space also is no speed at all. You set off into space at 66 million miles per hour throughout your lifetime. You've hardly gone anywhere. You're not going to find new planets, or you're not going to discover anything new in that distance, because you've moved nowhere. Because the infinite size of the universe, you've gone nowhere. Yeah, you haven't moved anywhere.
Right. So speed doesn't exist in space. It's your claim now. There is no speed in space.
Well, no, it does exist. But it does exist, but speed is relevant, isn't it? If you've got a vastness of nothing and you're traveling at 1,000,000 miles an hour and there's nothing there, you wouldn't even know you were moving, because you've got no point. Speed is relevant to whatever. You've got to put speed against something. So you've got to, if you've got nothing in space, you can travel at 1,000,000 miles an hour, 2 million miles an hour, and you wouldn't even know you were moving, because you've got no reference point. And that's what I'm saying. It's 1,000 miles an hour in space. You're going to travel nowhere. There's just no distance in space whatsoever.
Right. So okay. So you're saying speed doesn't matter in space, but then again, you have to.
It does matter, but the speed that we're using.
Science.
It does matter, but the speed that we're using is nothing when it comes to the vastness of space.
So I do say you do a great job presenting your side, but at the end of the day, you're saying space doesn't matter, and the Earth is not spinning 1,000 miles per hour, which it is at the equator.
No, it's rotating
around where you're at.
Like I said, you keep saying that. Seriously, look it up. Go look up rotation and find me where it tells you that rotation is measured in miles per hour. Nobody ever measures rotation in miles per hour, because it's impossible, because you've got nothing to judge it by. If I tell you that I've got something that spins at 1,000 miles an hour, it depends on the size of that object, what 1,000 miles an hour is. Like I say, something the size of the Earth, that we actually live on, 1,000 miles an hour is once in 24 hours. Now, if it's 1,000 miles an hour to something this size, obviously it's going to be spinning like hell. So you don't measure rotation in miles per hour. And like I said, this is why flat earthers say rotating at 1,000 miles an hour, we're orbiting the sun at 66 million miles per hour. Because you think, oh man, how can we be going that speed? But it takes a year to do one rotation. That's what
the science tells us, brother. That's what the science, that NASA, for example, that's what they tell you. So this is not numbers I'm making up or a flat earth. This is what NASA, RAXA, JAXA, these are what the universities tell you. So it's not something I'm making up. But let me ask you this: how fast? Because if like you're saying, at the equator is spinning 1,000 miles per hour. So obviously at the North Pole on a ball, you wouldn't be spinning as fast because it takes less amount of time to cover the speed. So how fast are you spinning at around in New York or? So these are actual numbers that you can look up for yourself. How fast is the Earth spinning in New York or in where you're at in England? But you're gonna have fun
in New York. You're going to be spinning at. Let me just find the. What we got here? We've got 10, 20, 30, 40. You're going to be roughly about 550 miles an hour at New York, and I'm going to be about
half the
400 miles per hour in UK. Sorry?
No, nothing. I'm just So you do accept these numbers exist, and it's not something we're making up. Because in a flat Earth model,
they do exist. But what I'm saying is, they do exist.
These are your numbers.
But what
you're discrediting your own numbers.
Why?
I said, these numbers are your numbers. They're not a flat earther's number. A flat earther thinks like you're saying, the sky is rotating at 15 degrees per hour, but the Earth is still stationary. It's not moving. So when we're talking about the Earth is spinning 1,000 miles per hour, you say, oh, that's something flat earthers. No, this is what NASA, RAXA, JAXA, and all the government space agencies tell us.
Yeah, it's called the linear. Yeah, that's called the linear speed. And like I say, the reason you don't use linear speed for anything that's a circle is because, like you're saying, the linear speed at 1,000 miles at the equator is different to the linear speed further up. So you don't end up with like that. They're just linear speeds that they're irrelevant. Like I said, if I tell you that this is spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, it's going to be spinning like that. But because the Earth is so large, 1,000 miles an hour is nothing. It takes 24 hours to do a full circle. It's nothing. And what I'm saying is the reason that flat earthers use these speeds is because when they first mentioned to somebody who has never looked at this type of thing, I mean, most people have never even thought about it. For somebody who's never thought about it and they're suddenly getting told that we're spinning at 1,000 miles an hour, then they look it up and then they find out that, yes, true, we are actually spinning at 1,000 miles an hour. It makes them think, well, how the hell can we be staying on at 1,000 miles an hour? Because it's one rotation in a 24-hour period. It's nothing. And like I say, you never ever measure rotation. Find me somewhere that measures rotation in miles per hour, because they don't. It's measured in revolutions per minute. It's the same with your car. With your speedometer knows this, basically when you're putting a car together, you will synchronize your speedometer with the size of the wheels. That's why if you go out now with your whatever car you've got, say you've got 14-inch wheels on your car. If you go out and buy 18-inch wheels on your car and put them on your car, your speedometer is going to be off, because it's been. You'll need to take it to the garage and get them basically to reset your speedometer for the size of the wheels that you've got, because having bigger wheels rotating at the same speed travels a further distance. So again, even on your car, when they're measuring your the rotation of your tires, it will be done in revolutions per minute. The size of the tires, they will then do an equation which will give them what the miles per hour is for that particular tire going on. An 18-inch tire doing one rotation will really go further than a 14-inch tire doing one rotation. So it's done in revolutions, it's not done in miles per hour.
All right, how do you explain the North Star never moving? This picture I'm showing right now, my emoji, is the North Star never moving.
The North Star doesn't.
All the other stars are rotating around it.
It does move.
When?
It does move higher. The North
When?
Star has moved. If you go and look at the nautical almanacs over the last 200 to 300 years, which it has moved. It has moved over the last 150 years. It's moved about 1/4 of a degree. Admittedly, that's not a lot. And you as an individual looking at the North Star every night are never going to see any difference in it. But it has actually moved about 1/4 of a degree in the last 150 years. 150 years ago, it was something like 3/4 of a degree different to what it is now. To the human eye, that is nothing.
Polaris?
If you're measuring it, it has moved, and it does move. So why did the sailors over the last 300-400 years? Why did they keep almanacs of the movement of the stars and record movement of the North Star? Because they have. You can Google that. It's all written down, not from 20 years ago, 30 years ago, 200-300 years ago, and that star has moved. Not a lot. Like I say, over the last 150 years, it's moved about 1/4 of a degree, but it moves. And
Okay,
you just Google it.
Was it called Polaris? Because
Yeah,
that
Polaris,
means it's
yeah.
over the North Pole. So at what point was Polaris not the North Star?
It had been thousands of years ago. Because like I say, over the last 200 or 300 years, it's moved a percentage of a degree, virtually hardly anything, but it has moved.
When?
And it still does move today. That's why sailors keep celestial almanacs, for the fact that they do move.
It hasn't moved. That's why it's called Polaris. Google it.
It has moved, but
it hasn't moved.
Google it.
Google it.
Google the sailor's almanac for the Why did the sailors 150 years ago have the North Star about 1/4 of a degree different to what it is now? Why did they do that?
They were probably like in a different position. So for you to take the star into you have to be in the same spot all the time. So if you're talking about navigation, they're not on the same spot. But if you're in your own backyard, or if you go to places like the Georgia guys,
but like me, I'm 50 degrees north, right? So if I get a sextant and I look at the Polaris, right?
Yeah.
It will be 50 degrees down. It will be 50 degrees down in the horizon. So it doesn't matter where I am. That star will correspond with whatever latitude I'm on. And it has moved, like I've just said, only a small amount. Just Google it. Sailor's almanacs over the last 300-400 years. Google it. Look at Polaris. It has moved. So to say that it hasn't is wrong.
Well,
because it's always been called Polaris.
It's always been our North Point reference. That's why it's called Polaris. So at what point was it not called Polaris? Is my question to you. What was it called? What was Polaris called before it wasn't called Polaris?
I don't know. It probably wasn't even used for navigational back in them days. It's that long ago since it was. It's several thousand years before it moves, and we will get a different North Star. That's all explained. You can just Google this.
Polaris has a name. That's the name of the actual star. That's the name it's been called for thousands of years. Yeah. So at what point was it not called Polaris? Which means it's right above the North Pole.
Because it's been there for thousands of years. I'll have a look. See if I can find something.
And check this out. It gets real crazy when you figure out the Earth is only 6,000 years old. So then they start making up numbers. But you're going to get a result, and it's based from NASA, that 2,400 years ago, it wasn't Polaris. It was a different star called Tuban. But your sources are going to be NASA, RAXA, JAXA, and all the government space agencies. But in reality, Polaris has always been Polaris. It never moved. All the other stars are rotating around it. None of the constellations have ever changed in the 6,000 years of written history, which if we lived on a ball that was spinning 1,000 miles per hour, not only that, but if we lived on, because, the stars would make sense still if the ball's spinning 1,000 miles per hour, but the Earth is moving around the sun Polaris will move, but they got to make it so far away so it doesn't ever move. Also, what else I got for you? Oh yeah, yeah. The whole solar system is supposedly moving around the Milky Way galaxy. So, but none of the constellations ever change. The North Star is always in the same spot throughout the whole 6,000 years of written history. Except you're gonna get a NASA article that says the bond was the North Star 2,400 years ago or whatnot.
Yeah, yeah, 12,000 years ago.
Oh, 12,000 years ago.
It was.
Okay. So imagine that when you figure out
ago.
Imagine when you realize the Earth is only 6,000 years old. Where does that put that? Into a pseudoscience or theory tales. They're just, trying to guess, make up science as they go along. Because written history is only 5,000 years old. How could they possibly know that the North Star 12,000 years ago when nobody even wrote about it?
Because what they can do, I suppose it's a bit like a clock. Once you can see that something is progressing slowly over a period of time, obviously it makes sense to think, well, if that's always been progressing at that certain speed over this certain period of time, if we go back in time, we can work out what position it was thousands of years ago. So yeah, there'll have been nobody sat here writing down that, all this information. What you can do is look at the rotation of the stars and how the stars move, and if they all move in a certain percentage, a certain speed, or per year, per 10 years, or per 100 years, and you can see that progression of that, you can take that progression backwards and see where it was 100 years ago, 1,000 years ago, 2,000 years ago, and so on and so forth. That's how it will have been done.
Yeah, that's a lot of guesswork and all, but as far as written history is concerned, Polaris has always been Polaris because written history is only 5,000 years old, begins with the Sumerians. So the Polaris has always been Polaris. That's why it's called Polaris. It's never had another name. It's always been called Polaris. And then other than that...
obviously, if you go that far back in history, people wouldn't have named stars and stuff then. They'd have been irrelevant to them. But yeah, Polaris has been called, it's called Polaris, but
we got this book in the Bible called the Book of Job, where he even talks about Palladius and the belts on Orion. So the stars have been there and they have been recorded. Actually, God commands one of the people in the Bible to count all the stars. So he goes out and counts all the stars. So actually, they didn't have TVs back then, also, or the internet or Netflix. So probably all they did was look at the stars back in those days. You got to take that into account. Big monolithic structures like the ones you guys got over there, which probably align to the stars some kind of way, I would imagine. What's it called? The one Stonehenge over there you guys got. We got the Georgia Guidestones here in Georgia. We got all these different monoliths, the pyramids that line up to the stars and whatnot. So they never change, bro. They never have, they never will, because the Earth is flat, stationary. There are heavens above us. They're always the same. They don't ever change. But yeah, I know it's a hard pill to swallow. But check this out. Look up another thing, interesting fun fact. So you got Orion, you got Libra, Sagittarius, you got Leo, you got all the constellations. We have things called planispheres where we've been able to map them out for a long time. We had instruments such as the astrolabe, the nocturnal label, a bunch of different instruments where we can count the stars. We call them constellations. Hey, what's up, Paul? Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, not bad.
How's my audio today, bro?
Yeah, it's better than it was yesterday.
Good. All right, bro. Thanks for coming in, man. What do you want to talk about today? Evolution, Big Bang?
Yeah, I don't have time to do another debate on the flat Earth. But yeah, I mean, I'm enjoying listening to what we did. You're going to have to teach us how to do this because I don't know how to clip video clips out of somebody else's stream like what you've done. I wouldn't know how to do that. So
you know how to screen share, don't you?
I know how to screen share, yeah. Oh, is that what you're doing?
Right. I'm just screen sharing the part. It's like 30 minutes long or so, so I'm pretty halfway through it, I think. Because I started off in the beginning, when you first came on, we kind of went over the debate and stuff. Your upcoming debate on Friday. Plus, it's your birthday today, I think. Happy birthday!
Yeah, it is. Yeah, thanks very much.
So, but yeah, so I kind of skipped through all that, and then it's like maybe like the last 30 minutes of a conversation last night that I was playing, and then the audio starts to get real bad here in a minute or two. So it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, it did get a bit difficult to understand some of the. I could catch sort of like what you were saying, but it was getting a bit difficult to actually get the full concept of what you were saying. Yeah, it does get difficult later on, because what happens is I start then echoing back through your mic, because if you look at your image, it starts to flash as if you're talking, but it's my voice coming back through, so it gets difficult to even speak myself, because all I'm doing is getting an echo back, and it's a bit difficult to carry on talking when you can hear yourself with a second or two delay.
Yeah. Plus Gavin was in the stream because I was watching it earlier, and he has a tendency to echo a lot too. So and my connection was bad, I gotta say. So it's so many different things it could be, especially when you have multiple people on the stream. Praises doing God knows what, he was taking his walk. So yeah, it's but yeah, that's all I'm doing is screen sharing. Here, I'll stop screen sharing. I don't know if it'll let me show you. Stop screen. Share screen. I can't show you well, but you get it. Yeah. It's basically you're just screen sharing whatever portion of the video you want to share.
Yeah, I realize what you're doing now. Yeah, I thought you'd taken that clip out, but yeah, you've basically gone onto his channel, fast forwarded to where we start talking, then you've shared it from there. Yeah, got it.
Yeah, it's pretty easy to do. I can pretty much put anything in the background here, as you can see here. Different pictures of all the different government space agencies telling us where we live, and they're all different sizes and different shapes.
I know that's done. I can do that myself. That's perfectly explainable. You know, when the continents are different sizes.
Yeah,
I've actually done that myself on a globe, and there's nothing strange about that at all. I'll see if I've got it on my phone still. I should have, and I should.
I would imagine it depends with the. Look at this one. Meanwhile, in Australia, they're flying their helicopters backwards over there and floating their chips on the other side.
I know what you're saying, but down is always towards the earth, so they're not flying upside down.
Yeah, which way's up?
Above your head.
If you're in Australia,
above your head.
So you're in England. So which way's up for Australian people?
Above their head, above their reference point.
Yeah, I get that, bro. But your whole concept of up and down becomes even convoluted when you see this perfect meme here.
No, up or down is relevant to you.
That's right.
Or to what position you're in at the Earth. So at the 3 o'clock position on the Earth, up is 90 degrees above your head. If you're in Australia, up again is 90 degrees above your head. I haven't got them photos on my phone. I'll have to show you it one day when we're on. I'll do it live. I'll take a photo of my globe, and then I'll take another photo of the globe, and then I'll show you the difference. And I can get it on a globe for the continents to vastly have different sizes.
All right, that'll be interesting to see. Because
in fact, I'll do it now. You carry on playing the clip.
From that
you'll carry on doing your stream. I'll mute myself. I'll go into the house. I'll get the globe. I'll bring it in here, and then when me and you were talking again, I will do it live on camera. I will take 2 photos, and I will show you the continents at 2 vastly different sizes. But the globe will be the same size on the on the picture that I show you. So the globe won't change size, but I will get the continents to change size for you. So I'll just mute myself. You'll carry on with your stream. I'll go get my globe, and then when you're finished, I'll go through that and I'll show you how it's done.
Sounds good, bro. What do you make of this one here with the all the different cosmologies of the ancient Egyptians and Norse and Hindu people? And you know, they all had the sun and moon spinning around their heads. Around the North Pole.
Because I mean, basically, thousands of years ago, they had no way of knowing. And what you do observe the sun moving across the sky. So it's perfectly normal without looking into it. It's not a stupid thing 2,000-3,000 years ago to look at the sun and say the sun moves across the sky. I mean, we still refer to it now as the sun tracking across the sky.
Correct.
But it is actually the Earth that is rotating, but it makes it much easier for people to understand when you talk about the movement of the stars across the sky or the movement of the sun across the sky. It's because it's what it looks like, but we know that that isn't what it is. So it's perfectly normal for people in the past to say that the sun moves across the sky and not that the Earth is rotating. But anyway, I'll let you carry on with it. Like I say, I'll mute myself and I'll go get my globe, and then when we're done, I'll show you how it's done.
I'll put our conversation from last night for a little bit and wait for you to come back.
Yeah, okay.
Go for it, bro. We make animals and other things. And anyways, but check out when's the last time constellation has changed. Check it out. Look it up.
Just changing.
Look at when is the last time constellation.
They've just changed them.
You got Google, right? Check it out. When's the last time a constellation?
I'm sure they've just changed them. Yeah,
because you're talking about
Polaris. I'll have to Google it. I'm not to do it now, but I will Google that. But I'm sure it was last year that they've just changed the constellation where they are. I'm sure they've just done it. There was talk about it a year ago, and I'm sure that I don't know whether they did it or not. I'd have to Google it and find out. But I'm sure they've changed them just.
Listen, the constellations themselves haven't changed. The names might have changed in those stars, but the stars haven't
changed the names. I think it's to do with birth signs. You know, like if you're born in a certain month year. I'm sure they've changed.
When's the last time Orion changed? When's the last time any constellation has changed? NASA, RAXA, JAXA will tell you every 250,000 years. And again, imagine how silly that sounds when you know written history is only 5,000 years old. The Earth is only 6,000 years old. You know, the constellations never change. If you live in a scanning universe like Newton built
the stars now, and the stars are all moving at the same speed. You can go backwards and basically like looking at a clock, and you can go backwards and look to see what position it would have been. As long as you know what its position is now, how it's been moving forward, you can then look back in history and see where it was 250,000 years ago. They're not saying that somebody was sat there 250,000 years ago recording where the star was. They're just looking back. That if something is moving at a certain speed and altering its position at a set amount, you can work out going back in what position it was 2,000 years ago, 10,000 years ago, whatever.
All right,
doesn't mean somebody had to be there.
I'm gonna switch topics altogether. You already considered the stars haven't changed in 6,000 years of written history. Polaris, even you said, changed 12,000 years ago. So at that point, you know, I give up because Earth is only 6,000 years old, so it hasn't moved ever. So you know, I'm a concede on the stars, bro. But how high do you have to go to see curvature?
Very high.
How much marijuana? Welcome back, Paul. Welcome back. Did you want to share something?
Yeah, can you hear me all right?
Yeah, I hear you perfectly.
Yeah, I've got my globe here. So to make sure that I haven't pre-done this, right, we've got several large continents on this globe. So we can look at South Africa, South America. Well, we can look at the whole of Africa, South America, United States and Canada. Even we could go to Australia. Whichever one you want, you choose one of them that you want me to take a photo of, and I will get them continents to change size without changing the size of the globe. So name one of them. What do you want? Australia, Africa, South America, or North America, Canada, United States, Mexico? Which do you want?
Let's do you said America?
Yeah, well, it'd be Canada, United States, Mexico, as in like North America. Yeah.
Let's do it. Let's do North America. Because since I'm in North America, that'll be cool for North American people to see, I guess.
Yeah. All right then. I'll put that. I'll see if I can get it to. I'll put my camera down. See if you can see it.
Right. Let me get rid of this for a second. There. I see you better now.
So taking one photo. Second photo.
Yeah. Just walked out a little bit further, but we'll see what you're gonna do here.
Yeah. So that is the first photo that I've taken.
It's beautiful.
Yeah. You agree?
Yeah. Makes me hungry.
Look at the size. Look at the size of the globe to my screen on my iPhone, and they're virtually touching top to bottom. Yeah. You agree?
Yep. Got a little bit of glare, but
yeah, because the sun's coming up, but hopefully. And then again, that's the same one. Look at the size of America.
Yeah, you were further away when you took the picture.
And that's why them pictures are like what they are, because depending on what distance that satellite is taking the photo from, will determine the size of the continent. So if you take a photo of the Earth relatively close to the Earth, the continents will be a certain size. If then a satellite or a different satellite is much further away, and that satellite then zooms in onto the Earth and takes the photos, the continents will change size. So using them photos to say, oh, how come that the continents on this photograph are much larger or much smaller than they are on this photograph? What's going on? It's just the position that the satellite was in when it took the photograph, just exactly the same as I've demonstrated there. A satellite close to the Earth will have a different size continent from a satellite that is much further away and then zooms in. And I've just literally shown you exactly how that works. So I don't see how you can use that one anymore as an argument, because it's perfectly explained. Now, if I'd have demonstrated that and there was no way could I replicate it, I couldn't get the continents to change size, you would then have a point. But I've just literally in front of you demonstrated it on exactly how it's done. So I don't see how you can use that anymore as an argument to say that that NASA is lying to you, because you now know how it's done.
Okay, Paul. Thank you, bro.
Do you agree with what I said or not? Did I just demonstrate exactly what happens in them pictures?
Well, you took a picture from a different angle, and that's what you're saying.
Which is exactly what happens with the satellites. With the satellites, or whatever it is that they send out into space, as they're going away from Earth, they will take photos as they're going away from Earth. So then continents will change size due to the fact that the satellite or whatever spacecraft it is going moving further and further away from the Earth. So if each time it takes a photograph, it is then having to zoom in even closer. So then continents will change size exactly as I've just demonstrated on that.
Do we have any live satellite footage right now?
Yes, I believe the Himawari weight, or whatever they call it, takes a photograph every 10 minutes. And if you go online and Google live image or whatever it is from Himawari, I can't say the bloody word, Himawari 8, actually, they take a photo every 10 minutes.
Gotcha, bro. I'm actually gonna look up the Himawari 8 just for fun, because it's been a while since I did it. Believe me, I heard of the Himawari 8 before. I'm actually I got it already set up for you here. Let's see, Chrome tab, Himawari 8 real time. All right, bro. Can you see it?
Yeah.
Let's see how to make this baby play. Oh, this is it, I guess. So we're Australia right now.
All right, yeah.
Here we go. The latest animation. And I guess it's always somehow how far away is the Himawari 8? Do you know?
I've got absolutely no idea. You'd have to Google it, Iger. I really don't know.
It's kind of crazy if this satellite's like, let's say, 1 million miles away per se, and this taking and this is from today, February 22nd, 2021. It says 10 Japan Standard Time. I guess that's what it stands for.
Ah, right, yeah.
But yeah, that's I'm just replaying it over and over and over again. But yeah, you think this is a real picture of the Earth, right? But the satellite's like 1 million miles away, so it's got to be perfectly following Japan and Australia from 1 million miles away, while the Earth is spinning 1,000 miles per hour at a million miles away per se. Because I didn't look it up, but I'm just guessing it's about 1 million miles away. This thing,
I don't know.
This thing is rotating around the Earth. Who knows at what speed around the Earth? Not counting how fast the Earth is rotating around the sun, and I forget how this thing's been on for at least 3 years, the Himawari 8, and it's always capturing this perfect shot of the Earth. Now you can't zoom into Australia here per se and find a car or anything like that.
No, because I mean, if you look at the size of Australia there, and then look at how big Australia actually is. I mean, Australia is almost the same size as the United States of America. So if you look at the size of Australia there, and then try and put into perspective how big a car would be at that scale, there's no way are you going to be able to see a car at that distance. There's no satellite, no zoom lens that is going to be capable of zooming that is literally like trying to take a photograph of a flea on a dog at 3 miles away.
Yeah, I'm trying to zoom in right now, just making my browser bigger, but it doesn't let you. It's kind of crazy.
Yeah.
But yeah, so and again, you also got to take. Have you ever heard Neil deGrasse Tyson say that the Earth is pear-shaped, but here we got like this perfect spherical Earth?
Yeah, but what it means by that's been over-exaggerated, and it was trying to use that as an it was trying to explain the size of the shape of the Earth, and basically saying that it's not a perfect sphere, it's an oblate spheroid. Basically, it's fatter at the middle, more pear-shaped than a circle shaped. But to the naked eye, there's I can't remember what the size of it is now. Something like at the Earth's equator, it's 24,900 miles, and if you go pole to pole, it's 24,950 miles. There's about a 50-mile difference. It's not a great deal. So to the human eye, you're not going to see that slight bulging at the equator. But that's what he was explaining. It's like when he was saying, I remember him saying that you won't see curvature of the Earth in an aeroplane or in the space station. You've got to be a lot higher up than that. It's true in what he's saying, as in you won't see a proper distinctive curve, but you will see a slight curve from something like 60,000-70,000 miles up. You will see a slight curve, but a quick glance of it, it's going to look virtually flat, but there is a slight curve there. Mr. Sensible from the UK, he sent up a weather balloon with cameras on it, and he also, on the cameras that he was using, he had 3 cameras. One camera looking straight up at the balloon, one camera which is a wide angle lens, which would then distort the image and give you a distinct curve. But that wasn't there for that. It was there to give a good view. And then he had another camera which was a narrow angle lens with no distortion or very little distortion. He then put 2 wires in front of the camera as reference points, and then sent it up this weather balloon, and he measured the curve, and it's all there on live footage from takeoff to the balloon bursting to the camera falling down to them half an hour trying to find it to pick up the camera. It's completely unbroken footage, and there is a curve, not a massive curve like this, a slight curve, and you can see it, and it proves that there is no distortion there. And just go on to Mr. Sensible's site and look up the MAGE, which is Mission Above Globe Earth, I think MAGE stands for, and it's all there.
Yeah. So you watch it a lot, I guess. So we get our information from sources, so that it sounds like a very biased source. Mr. Sensible, I think I heard him before. I think he's like basically his whole channel is just debunking the flat Earth per se, if I'm not mistaken. He might dibble with a creationist also and evolutionist. So when you're getting your information from somewhere like that, you gotta know that it's biased. Just like you're here, I'm obviously a flat Earth or young Earth creationist, so my information is also biased in a way. But they used to be I used to believe in evolution and the spinning ball and the Big Bang and all that. But 3 years ago or about 4 years ago, I switched sides. I guess I came to the light side. But you ever seen this, Bob? It's it's called bobwins.com. BOBWINDS.com.
No, I haven't seen that. No.
All right. So there still is a website called earth.nullschool.net. And basically it's for surfers and stuff like that, if they want to check the wave patterns, the weather, or whatever, if they're going to travel somewhere. So it's live data of the weather. This one is they took out the AE map about 3 years ago, because the AE map is the azimuthal equidistant map that I'm showing you here, that puts the North Pole in the middle of the Earth per se, which is this map is super accurate till you get to the equator, according to the globe Earth model, and then it starts to distort itself once you get past the equator, which is right here, this line.
Yeah.
But this is very accurate information. If you were to plan a trip, or if you were going out navigating or whatever. But yeah, you could. It's pretty cool. I don't know if you notice the wind. I'm not sure if it's the wind or the water. The way it's moving is kind of very symmetrical, and you can actually change it to like a globe. You know what I mean? And then you're gonna start to see different. It's like the pattern becomes a little irate, I guess is the world where things are starting to spin in weird directions.
Yeah, they're either going to be weather patterns, or I would probably guess that they're probably going to be. It depends on what you're using it for. Whether you're using it for aircraft or using it for sailing, I suppose. I would probably guess that they're
This
going
one's
to
the
be
wind that I'm showing. Here's
weather
the
patterns.
oceans here.
Wind, magnetic flux, and oceans. Yeah, so basically what somebody would do is they would look at that, and if you're going from point A to point B, it will give them an idea, or they'll get a lot of information from this on what the weather's doing, where they're going. That's all it is. I mean, that wouldn't be used for navigation. That would just be used for getting information for navigating.
Yeah,
it's a similar thing that we've got in the UK. We've got the Met Office. Whenever I go flying, I go onto the Met Office website and go into the aviation part, and I can put in my location. And what it'll do is it will tell me that what the wind speed is at the ground, what the wind speed is each 1,000 feet, what the direction the wind speed is coming in. It'll give me all this information. So when I'm planning my route, I will put them into my navigate. I'll use that information for when I'm navigating, because when I'm flying on a certain bearing. So if, let's say, for instance, I'm looking on my map, and from where I am, point A, and I'm flying to point B, I might be flying at a compass heading. My direction, say, is, let's call it 180 degrees. So I'm flying at a bearing of 180 degrees. But if the wind is coming to is blowing to from my right to my left, and say it's a 10-knot wind, and it's directly blowing from my right to my left, when I'm tracking at 180, I am slowly going to get blown off course. My indicator, my direction indicator, will still be pointing 180, but I will be drifting off course. So I'll miss my target by, depending on how far I'm flying, by several miles, 10, 20, 30, 40 miles I could miss it by. But by using a certain calculation and knowing what the wind direction and speed is, I can then compensate for that. So say, for argument's sake, like I say, the point B that I'm flying to is at 180 degrees from my location. I might fly at 190 degrees. So I might add 10 degrees onto my track that I'm going to be flying. That wind will then blow me back on course, so I will hit my target, and it works every time. It's all right. Periodically along the way, you are using reference points to fine tune that, just to make sure that you are on course. But relatively speaking, it's fairly accurate, and it will put me where I want to be.
Yep.
But I just wanted to show you something, Iger, when you're talking about the shape of the Earth. I might have shown you this before. That there is a red line, which is relatively straight. It's just done with a red marker.
Hold on, let me stop screen sharing. It's hard to see your screen. Oh, I see it. Oh, but yeah, you showed me this before. You're gonna zoom out, and it's gonna be a circle.
Yeah, and that's further out. And what I did is I just drew a circle on a piece of paper, and all I did was zoom into it. And that's what it is. And that's why when you're stood on the Earth, if you look at that there where I've zoomed in, if that was at scale and that was the surface of the Earth, that would probably be several hundreds, if not 1,000 miles across the surface of the globe. Now you imagine a person standing on that. To them, the Earth is going to look flat. No matter what direction you're looking, it is going to look flat. So a curved object, if you're small enough, is going to look flat when you're on the surface of it.
What's a flat object gonna look like if you're small and a flat object this big? I'm just saying
it will look flat. But what I'm saying is a lot of flat earthers are saying that we never see the curve. And what I'm trying to explain to you is, due to our size on the Earth, it's not like where, to scale. You look at this globe. It's not like you could see you on there. The UK, from basically Land's End to John O'Groats, is basically about just short of 900 miles. It's not very big at all. But when you look at it on the map, the UK is only on this map here. It's about half an inch. So that's how big the UK is on this globe, half an inch. So if that's 800 miles and it's half an inch on this globe, and you're 6 foot tall, you're not even going to see you on this globe. You're that tiny. To wherever you look, it's going to look flat.
You know why it looks flat, Paul? Because it is, Paul. That's why it looks flat.
The problem is, Iger, is we absolutely. In fact, I'll see if I can show you. Just bear with me. I'll see if I can find it on here, and then I'll share my screen. Let me just see if I can do this. Right, let me have a look.
Do you own any stocks in NASA or anything, Paul?
Just what?
ESO or anything? Do you own stock?
No.
No? Okay.
No.
Checking, man.
Right, I'm just going to share my screen now.
Yeah, go for it. Go for it.
So share screen. Can you add that to the screen so we can all see it?
I got you. I see it.
Right.
Are you sharing your whole screen, Paul?
Yeah, can you see it now?
I want you to try something. Go back to your StreamYard and try just sharing a tab as opposed to sharing the whole screen. So
how do I do that? How do I share a tab?
You'll see it. Just stop screen share and then redo it again. And instead of putting share whole screen, you'll see a thing where it says share a tab. That way you could keep an eye on the StreamYard just for your future debates.
No, all I've got is share video or share screen. I don't have the video on my computer, so
right, share screen. But when you share the screen, it's going to give you an option to share a tab. You see how it works. Share screen. Let's see. So I find it very, very easy. Yeah, it's to the top right, as opposed to your entire screen. It should say a tab or application.
Oh, Chrome tab.
Yeah. So try that when you're sharing on the internet, because that way you can just share the tab and not share the whole screen, and then you can keep an eye on. You can go back and look. Click tabs. You're only sharing the one screen, as opposed to sharing your whole screen, and then you can't really see what's going on.
Right, is that?
Yeah, I see it, but
all right, yeah.
Yeah, let me add it to the stream real quick. Yeah, so this is easier. Now you can click back to the the StreamYard tab, and then you can see that you're sharing your screen. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's good. Yeah, thanks for that, Iger. I'm totally new to this. So yeah. Anyway, watch this. It's only on for a minute or two. I know it says 13 minutes, but it doesn't last for 13 minutes, this bit. But this is quite interesting. I'll press the play.
For the series, proving the Earth is not flat. Since the beginning of this
Is there any
series,
volume
I
on
said
this?
There would be experiments.
I hear you.
So finally, in this segment, I'm going to show you 2 simple experiments you can do to prove to yourself that the Earth is a sphere.
I can't hear it
I
though.
picked experiments that are very easy and don't require any expensive equipment. I will show you how to do the experiments, and will show you my results, and explain what they mean for the heliocentric globe.
You can't hear it. I can hear it.
Right, no, I can't hear it. I bet I know why. I've got me speaker plugged in, so I'd need headphones in, but it doesn't matter because I've heard it anyway. So as long as you can hear it, that's all right.
Yeah, I can hear it. You mind if I talk over it?
No, that's fine.
All right, let's go.
Globe Earth model, and for the failed flat Earth conjecture.
See, I like that one there.
The first experiment dates back over 2,200 years. Aristarchus of Samos, who lived about 310 to 230 BCE, was the first known heliocentrist, centuries ahead of his time, and was a brilliant mathematician and astronomer. he realized that using simple geometry, one could easily determine the relative distances of the sun and the moon. Since the moon's phases are caused by the light of the sun and our viewing angle, he realized that at first quarter and third quarter phase, when the moon precisely appears half lit and half dark from our vantage point, that the Earth, moon, and sun form a right triangle. So if you can measure the angle between the sun and the moon, simple trigonometry will tell us the relative distances of the two objects.
You can pause it
Now,
real
bear
quick.
with me on this. There is some math involved, but you will see it's very simple math.
Yeah. Let me show you something real quick. Let me show you something. It's interesting when you start looking at this stuff real quick. And I know you don't believe in Lucifer, but hold on. I'll let you keep playing the video. You can see my screen. I just Googled up sigil of Lucifer. I can't hear you, by the way.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Yeah, I was muted. What I've done is I've just unplugged my
Speaker.
microphone so that it's going straight through the computer, so that when that video is playing, I will be able to hear it.
All right, so watch. We're gonna keep watching the explanation. I just wanted to point out how, man, this heliocentric model sure does have a lot of 666s all over it. I just want to point that out for you, you know, and anybody that watches this later. But all right, I'll play yours. We can play your video now, but you're gonna see how the moon kind of their explanation kind of comes to this little symbol here. And all it is if you can see the Google tab, is all I did was Google sigil of Lucifer. And yeah, keep on playing that. You'll see how this relates to how they like to put it right in front of your face. All right, let me share your screen again. Let's go, bro. Play. Can't do it side by side, but
First, in Mythbuster style, let's try this on a tiny scale to show how it works. These two objects and the viewer form a right triangle. This angle is 90 degrees, and with a simple protractor, we can measure this angle, which is the viewer's angle between the two objects. In our example, we get 67 degrees. Once we know that angle, even without knowing the distances, we can calculate the ratio of the distances of the two objects. In other words, how many times farther away is object B than object A? I will explain why this ratio is important later. To get the ratio, we simply calculate the secant of the angle, which is the trigonometry calculation for the ratio of the length of the hypotenuse over the length of the adjacent side. I put a link in the description for the explanation of this, in case your trigonometry is rusty. In our example, this comes out to 2.56. So this means that object B is 2.56 times farther away than object A. And since we can measure the distances here, we can verify that the right triangle method is valid by seeing if we get the same result by measuring. We see that the distance to A is 7 inches, and the distance to B is 18 inches. And so, when we divide 18 by 7, we get almost exactly the same ratio, 2.57. So now we know the method works. Try it yourself with any distances. So now let's try it with the sun and moon. To do the experiment myself, I spent about $20 on this angle tool with a digital readout. You can use a simple protractor, but you will need to add some form of pointing device for alignment. Check timeanddate.com or any other moon phase chart and go out on the date of the first quarter or the third quarter moon. It is easiest when the sun and moon are low in the sky, and of course, you will need clear skies. Here, you can see how I lined up one side of the angle finder with the moon. And to save my eyes from sun damage, I affixed a piece of index card on the other side. This way I could move the arm until the sun's shadow lined up straight down the arm, and I could tell it was aligned with the sun. Never look directly at the sun.
So yeah, I do want to tell you something real quick, and this is a real simple experiment you can do for yourself. The moonlight is colder. Also, I don't know if you ever heard about seleniline eclipses. It's when you can see a lunar eclipse.
Let me just cover the moonlight thing. I have actually done that just for a laugh because I've heard this before, that the moon emits a cold light. Now, if you've got if during the night, the Earth is obviously, wherever you are, the Earth is emitting heat because it's cooling down from the day, especially in summer. So on a summer's night, the Earth is emitting heat, so heat is leaving the Earth because you're in the dark. You haven't got the sunlight shining on you. If you go out into the middle of your garden and put a thermometer there, it will give you a temperature reading. And then if you go into a place that's under the shade, which what I did is I went under the gazebo that we had. So under the gazebo, it was slightly warmer than it was out in the garden where the moonlight was shining on it. And there was a very slight difference in temperature. Now, the reason for that is because the Earth is emitting heat from what it had collected throughout the day. In the garden, where it was open, that heat could disappear. But under the gazebo, because it has a canopy over the top of it, when that heat comes up, a small percentage, hang on a minute, a small percentage gets trapped underneath the gazebo. So it's slightly warmer in the shade than it is in the garden, due to the fact that one has a cover over it, which is trapping a very small amount of the heat that is dissipating, and the garden doesn't have anything over it, so the heat could dissipate. And that fully explains why that if you do that experiment, you will get a slight difference. So what I did...
Question mark, Paul.
Hang on, let me just finish what I'm saying. So what I did then is I thought, well, is that the moon that's making the difference? Or is it the fact that there's no covering over it? So what I did then is I waited until I had no moon in the sky on a summer's night. So there's no moon at all. Took a measurement underneath the gazebo, temperature measurement, went out into the garden and took another measurement. And guess what? There was a slight difference in temperature. So the moon had nothing to do with it. You get the same reading whether the moon is there or whether the moon isn't there.
So you're saying if you could do it on like because you put like a gazebo, like you're wrapping it up around something, but what if you say you did it with just the shade, like let's say it's the shade from your house and you're doing it over the same surface, and there's still like a 2-degree difference, how would you explain that?
The problem is if you do it close to the house or close to an object which is casting a shade, obviously a house, especially in the UK, they're made of bricks. So the bricks also absorb the heat. So if you go close to the house, I will get a warmer reading close to the house due to the fact that the heat that is being dissipated from the bricks of the house that has warmed up throughout the day. If I go to the bottom of my garden, I will get a slightly different temperature due to the fact that I've moved further away from that heat source, which is the house. So if anything that's in the shade, it's got something covering it, and you will get just try it. Honestly, it works. Do it yourself. Do it yourself. Do it when the moon is out, and also do exactly the same experiment when the moon isn't out, and you will get a different reading, exactly the same as I did.
You know, it's funny. I had somebody actually go outside with glasses, and they could, because the glasses are magnifying the effect, so you can actually feel it in your eyes, the coolness of it, especially if you're wearing glasses. So this is something you could do for yourself. Is why I brought it up. So you can obviously see that the moonlight is colder than than if it was reflecting hot sunlight from the sun. And then the next thing I was going to bring up was the seleniline eclipses, which is when you can see a lunar eclipse
Mm.
when the sun's still above the horizon. So they're
Yeah,
both
the impossible eclipse.
the impossible eclipse because the Earth is not.
Google it and it'll explain exactly how that happens. It's
Let's
perfectly
do it.
explained.
Yeah,
It's
I want
hard
to hear
to understand, but when it's explained to you, it's not impossible. Just after we've done this, we can go onto YouTube and search explanation of the impossible eclipse, and it will show you exactly how it works.
That's your explanation. Search on YouTube. That has all the flat Earth videos.
No, it doesn't matter that it's on YouTube. YouTube has all sorts of information on it. I mean, we're on YouTube. Yes, there is some fake information on YouTube as well, but this fully explains how it happens.
So
it's not because it's on YouTube. It's the explanation that you're looking for.
So you don't even know it, but I know it. I know the explanation because I struggle with I struggled with the Earth being flat around for a year. I couldn't accept it. It was so ingrained into my brain that we lived on a spinning ball that was shooting through infinite space, and we're insignificant amoebas that evolved into humans. from goo to you by way of the Sioux, they call that. But it wasn't until like about 3 years ago where I became a young Earth creationist, flat earther. So
yeah, the problem is when I mean, I only first heard about flat Earth as a serious idea probably only a couple of years ago. And when I first went and listened to the flat Earth arguments and I was watching videos, I never really thought about the shape of the Earth. Just like you said, it's what I've been taught. I accepted the shape of the Earth, and I've never really given it a great deal of thought. And then when I watched the flat Earth videos and the flat earthers were doing their arguments and showing the photos and stuff like that, I mean, I admit it, I've made scratching my head thinking, well, how does that work? And if you listen to all them videos all the time and that's all the information you're going to get, I can understand how convincing it's going to be. But what you've got to do, Iger, is not just listen to their arguments, listen to the counter arguments that explain
them all, Paul. I got deleted. I got deleted from YouTube one time already because I heard all the arguments and I see the deletion of videos. It's kind of like a book burning when you really get down to it, when things are getting deleted. On YouTube, especially where they show just about any type of craziness, then you start to see the censorship and it gets pretty crazy. But
yeah, but I mean, YouTube is a private platform. I mean, it's not owned by government things like that. So it's a private platform, and they've got a right, if they want, to remove or censor what they show on their platform. And,
yeah,
and the problem is, it's the flat Earth movement. Over the last 5-6 years, it has gained momentum, and to be honest, it's a dangerous thing to be, especially teaching kids stuff like this, because it absolutely isn't true that the Earth is flat. It really isn't.
I feel the same way, and that's
the thing is, though, Iger, is
wait.
Let me just say, when we live on a globe, right? Everything, and I mean everything, is explainable.
Nothing
because you believe that the Earth is flat. It's not just the shape of the Earth that you put into question. Everything gets put into question, and it answers nothing. The flat Earth model. You don't even have a flat Earth model. Even the flat earthers cannot agree with how it's mapped out because none of them fit reality. Well, none of them can explain how the weather systems work.
Remember bobwins.com that I showed you earlier that is perfectly accurate, so you get to the equator and then you have debates about the little tip here and there? To answer that. But man, imagine how mad I was when, after like half of my life, hopefully, I was like in my late 30s when I heard about this and changed my mind. So imagine how mad I was when I found out that I didn't live on a spinning ball and I didn't come from a rock soup that turned into a human being after millions and billions of years. So just to justify that. And then, you know, I've seen the censorship. It's all getting deleted. It's like, it really is like the Bible says, Paul, where good is bad and bad is evil. Truth is all getting wiped out. You know, I don't want to get into other topics like creation. You know, you can have a debate just about anything nowadays. You could debate creation versus evolution. You could debate a 6,000-year-old Earth versus a 4,000-year-old Earth. You can debate homeopathic medicine versus holistic medicine. You could debate vaccines versus anti-vaxxers. You can debate. You guys have political parties over there, so you could be a red or a blue or man, you could debate just about anything, and it's crazy how anything that goes against the mainstream narrative, which is you know, supersedes the government at this point. Because even here in America, we got lobbyists that come in and buy out our politicians and whatnot because they need money to run for their campaigns or whatever. So we've been getting bought out by corporations such as YouTube, ABC, NBC, CBS. You guys got BBC up in England. So, you know, all your mainstream media is being controlled by the powers that be, whatever you want to call them. If you look in the Bible, it says Ephesians 12, we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities in higher places. So there's things above there that most people don't understand, that truth is being deleted as we speak. It really is what's going on. But let's get back on geocentric, heliocentric. Thank you for letting me rant on for a minute.
No, you're fine. No, you're fine. Don't want to start playing this again?
Yeah, go for it, bro. Play the video, and I'll keep trying to debunk it. I don't have much left in me, maybe another 15 minutes or so. So,
yeah, I don't have a great deal of time because I'm taking the wife to work shortly, but I'm all right for...
Where you at? Oh, it looks like you're in a cabin, man. I was kind of curious about that.
Yeah, I am. I'm in the summer house because when I got up this morning, the wife was still in bed. She wouldn't have been getting up for another hour. She'd be up now. But when we started, she would have still been in bed. And when I'm in the kitchen, it echoes like hell, you know, if I'm talking. So if I'm talking in the kitchen, I'll end up waking her up. So what I do sometimes is I come into the shed and I can talk all day long in here, and I don't disturb the wife, especially if she's in bed or anything like that. So I've just come out into the shed. I don't know. It's full of junk at the moment because we're in winter, so all our garden furniture's in here. But if I had moved the camera on, I could have turned it around. I could have showed you. I might be able to show you a little bit.
It's pretty cool. Did you guys build that yourself? That's a nice shed.
No,
you got over there, man. It looks like a little house or cabin or something.
Yeah.
Quick question, Paul. You know, we got Republicans over here and Democrats. What do you guys have in England?
The two major groups are the Conservative Party, which they're in at the moment, and we've got the Labour Party. They're the two main groups, and then we've got what's the other one? The Liberal Democrats. So you've got the lowest of the three would be the Liberal Democrats, and at the moment Labour, and then Conservatives. But normally when it comes to elections, it's between two parties, which is going to be the Conservatives and the Labour Party. So at the moment, we've got Boris Johnson, who is the Conservative Party.
What's the difference between the two?
To be fair, not a great deal.
Right. So it's left, because we got the left and we got the right, but they're both part of the same verse. So they've been pushing us through media control and whatnot. They've been kind of shaping our opinions to you know, be left or right. But but the thing is, left wing, right wing, same eagle. You know what I mean? Like they're the best. I think I forget which communist said it, but the best way to control the opposition is to be there ourselves. So, you know, they get people into these two boxes, and at the end of the day, the people that are in power, they're pushing their agendas.
Yeah, but I mean, to be honest,
corporations, I should say, the corporations, because they supersede the government. The corporations like YouTube, NBC, CBS, they have more power than. It seems like they have more power than the actual president at times. So it's crazy world we live in.
Well, yeah, I mean, like over here, it's like we've got Boris Johnson, who's the Prime Minister, but he can't. I think it's slightly different in America. I think your president and maybe has a little bit more power as an individual than what they do over here. Our Prime Minister over here cannot just suddenly make a decision to do something. He's got to put it through Parliament, and it's got to be voted on, and and that includes the Labour Party voting on it as well. So the Labour Party can block some decisions that the Conservative Party may want to implement. He's got to get a certain percentage of the House to agree with it. So he can't just suddenly wake up tomorrow morning or this morning and decide to implement a new law or to put further restrictions on him on us due to the virus. It's got to go through the House of Lords, so it's got to not through the House of Lords, through the House of Commons. So they've got to vote on it. He can't just make a decision on his own. So there is quite a lot of control taken away from our Prime Minister. He doesn't have ultimate power, and he can be voted out. I mean, literally in 2 weeks' time, if our Prime Minister was to do something that went against the will of the people, big time, we could literally get him out within about a fortnight. I mean, we did it with Margaret Thatcher. I mean, Margaret Thatcher was literally chucked out because of what things that she'd implemented, and she wouldn't take any notice of what the people were saying. So we basically got rid of her.
Was she a conservative or the?
Yeah, she was conservative. Yeah.
So I don't know, but then you had the other side take over. It just seems like they're all puppets.
No, the other side doesn't. The other side, the other side doesn't take over. What would happen then is if you took her out, and it's still within her term, but she was only to say serve 2 or 3 years, and then basically, like Margaret Thatcher did, she got thrown out. Somebody else from the Conservative Party would take over. They would basically elect a new leader, which would then be the new Prime Minister. Because basically, when we're voting over here, which a lot of people over here get it wrong as well, is they tend to vote for the individual. So when they go down to the to cast their vote, they're voting on the person. They're not voting on the party. But really, in reality, you're voting the party, and you're not voting the individual. It's the party that you put your voting in, and it's the party that make the decisions, not one person. He's just the leader of the Conservative Party. He doesn't have full control of the Conservative Party, and that's where people over here make mistakes. They find a person that's you'll get a leader of a particular party, and they're going through the election process. People will look at the leader of that party and vote on him rather than vote on what the policies are going to be. And it's frustrating because people vote on the individual, and you're not voting for the individual, you're voting for the party. It's like, what was his name? Well, basically, John Major took over from Margaret Thatcher. He became the leader of the Conservative Party, so he took over from Margaret Thatcher, but it was still the Conservative Party that was in power. And then we had Tony Blair, because then the Labour Party won. So then we had Tony Blair in power, and he stood down after a couple of terms, and it was Brown, what was his name? He took over, and a lot of people were saying at the time that he shouldn't have had the right to take over because he wasn't voted in. And like the argument was, no, it doesn't matter the fact that he wasn't voted in. His party was voted in, and he's now the leader of the party. So he basically he takes over. But anyway, we're going way off topic here. So shall I just carry on playing the video?
Yeah, bro, but I don't have. It's getting pretty late for me. So
it doesn't go on much longer. It's not for the full 13 minutes. It then goes on to something else. There's only probably a couple of minutes left.
Yeah, we're still talking about how far is the sun and the moon, right?
Yeah.
I'm gonna tell you a couple of things before you play the video, because nobody really knows. Nobody's 100% accurate because nobody's been up there. So and I'll leave you with a heliocentric model example where how far do you think the North Star is? Nowadays they tell us it's 323 light years away, and don't get me started on light years. How questionable those are. But yeah, back in the 90s, it was 434,000 miles away. So you know, they always the science is always changing. So it's not a fact. Just because you think you live on a spinning ball today, your mind can change tomorrow. Just because you think you come from a pond scum and you know, that turned into a fish, and then the fish turned into a mammal or whatever.
You listen too much to Kent Hovind.
Oh yeah, I like Kent
and then
Hovind.
you don't want to do, because he talks absolute bloody garbage. That is not what.
Hey, you know what?
I'm an atheist, but that is not what I believe. He'll keep saying it, but that is not what I believe. We
Well,
do
how did
not
life
know.
originate?
No, we don't know where life originally started from, and that is the answer. It's as simple as that. And no matter how many times you say that,
Well, what do you think? What do you think life came from?
we're going way off topic. We're going to go way off topic, but
Yeah,
that is not,
let's
that
go
is
for
not
like
what,
10
as an
minutes.
atheist, I believe. It just is not what I believe.
Let's talk about evolution, bro. What do you think? You think you come from a monkey?
No,
What do you think you came from?
we've evolved over time.
From what?
We are apes. We are one of the 5 great apes.
Okay. Where did the apes come from?
Something else prior to that.
What was it?
I've no idea. I'm not into into evolution. I'm not into abiogenesis.
So, I mean, you just said you came from an ape. What did the ape?
So we are apes. We don't come from apes. We are apes. We're still
okay,
apes.
Right. What did the ape come from?
It's evolved over time. Like I said, I don't know the answers to these because I'm not into evolution. I have watched a few programs on evolution and stuff like that, but I find it quite a boring subject, to be perfectly honest. I like watching.
They all tie together when you start talking about the Big Bang, evolution, shape of the Earth, you know, and God. They kind of all tie together, believe it or not, because we're being lied to by the mainstream media. So we don't come from a fish, but according to evolution, we will have to come from a fish that came from amoeba or something like that. So and I don't agree with everything Ken Hovind says. He still believes on the spinning ball Earth, but you know, his whole war has been for evolution. So he doesn't know. He actually knows quite a bit about how the universe works according to the heliocentric model. But yeah, man. Again, you have to look at this. You think Copernicus was smarter than you? Do you think? What's his name? Evolution guy. Darwin. Yeah. Do you think Darwin was smarter than you? I mean, we have me, you, everybody else in this world has as much intelligence as Copernicus or Darwin or all these other characters that have been pushed through the mainstream media for 500 years or less. You know. I like asking atheists, what do you think is the oldest historical book, like that's accurate? Do you have one, Paul? I asked you this 3 times already, but what do you think is the oldest historically accurate book?
I wouldn't have a clue. I couldn't even name an historical book. Again,
well, we got the Bible that has 66 if you follow the King James Version. That comes from England. But if you go to the Ethiopian Bible, they have like 80 books or something like that. I forget. But they have even more books. So, you know, there's a lot of books that are canonized as historically accurate books. So it seems like there's a war between God and the devil, especially when you start dwelling into topics such as evolution, the Big Bang, and the shape of the Earth. You're gonna have to have an answer for that. You can't just say, "Oh, I don't have a book. I don't believe in anything." Like you don't believe in any books. Like you don't think somebody else.
I'm not saying I don't believe what books say, but no, I don't read historical books. I've not really done history since school. And again, at school, history was quite a bit of a boring subject. But when you look at the Bible, I mean, we're going to go right off topic here. When you look at the Bible, when you look at the Bible, when you break it down into to what the Bible's actually saying, to me, they end up being ridiculously far out there. So if you go backwards, you've got if you go in reverse, you've got Jesus who was crucified and rose from the dead after 3 days. Now,
Yep.
that's a hell of a claim for somebody to be actually dead for 3 days and to come back. So now we're getting into the realms of magic. You go further back than that. He performed magic. He was healing the sick. He was healing the blind. He could do all these miracles. He could walk on water. Again, they're not normal things that you come across. It's then claimed that he was born from a virgin. Now, we know that virgins cannot give birth. All right, you can argue now we've got, we understand how people become pregnant, and we can do, you make somebody pregnant without actually performing the act of sexual intercourse. But for a virgin, 2,000 years ago to basically become pregnant because God decides to make her pregnant, that's just too far out there. And then you go back further than that. You've got Noah's Ark. So you've got a 600-year-old guy building a 450-foot, 500-foot boat, wooden boat, with no real technology whatsoever. This boat then sails. Well, basically, God then floods the whole of the earth. So the waters of the earth, all the land, everything is totally flooded. 2 of every animal just suddenly turns up, gets onto the ark, and it sails about for a year. And then after a year, the water subsides, and all the animals leave the ark and then populate the whole of the world. And you go through all these different stories. It to me, it gets to absurdity. It becomes absolutely ridiculous to believe in them things. I need far more evidence than stories that are written in a book that, like you say, have been canonized. So basically, you get a group of people who all sit round a table, basically going, "We'll have this story, we'll move that story out, we'll keep this story in," and it's been altered. And like you said, the King James version of, is it 1611 or 1511 or whenever it was? So throughout history, you can see how this book has been altered. Like you said, with the canonization, you've then got what the Catholic believe. They've got 88 books. We've got 66 books or whatever it is. So they've got more books than what we have. They believe slightly different things to what the
Time out.
And then you've got all the different denominations of religions where you can't even agree with the church down your street because that's Methodist and you're Pentecostal, so even you lot can't all agree. To me, it is just a religion. It's made up. There's no evidence for any of it. You've got all the other religions, which is like your Muslim religions, your Hindu religions, and they can't all agree with each other either. And then you're telling me that I've got to look at the Bible and say that it's an historically accurate book. Why should I believe that it's historically accurate? It's got silly stories in it which do not comport with reality, that we do not experience. I need a damn sight more evidence than just what's written in this old book.
But you believe you come from a monkey, that's no problem.
No, I don't believe it. No, I've just explained that. I get. You do this a lot. You try to tell me what I think.
Wait.
We don't come from monkeys. We are part of the ape family. It's as simple as that. That's why we look so similar.
Where did the ape come from?
I've just told you. It evolved over. You can Google all this and find out. I don't know what it was prior to an ape.
If you Google it, you're gonna find out you come from an amoeba.
Yeah, going back far enough, yes, you then get to, you basically start off with very primitive, simple life, which slowly over millions of years, not just over 20, 30, 40 years, we are talking millions of years, which is very hard for a human to comprehend when we only live for 75, 80 years. Trying to comprehend what millions of years are and how these slow steps happen over time. It is hard to understand how it all works. And that's why I say I've got no idea how life began on Earth. I really, and science doesn't. That goes into abiogenesis. And even science doesn't pretend to know how it happened.
Right. There's like 5 or 6, who knows? They come up with different theories every day.
But it's perfectly fine. And I live back my life perfectly fine looking at abiogenesis.
You know, you want to know
I don't know how life first started. I don't. That's my answer. And that's science answer. I can then look at evolution and look at what the evolution story says. And I can see how parts of that all fit together. But it's a topic that I'm not that familiar with. I haven't studied it. I've got a basic understanding that basically you've got very small changes, which we do know that happen just by looking at the different breeds of dogs that we've got. We do know that we can change the way an animal is. And over a longer period of time, eventually you can come up with a new species. I know you're going to say that a dog gives birth to a dog. Well, of course it does. You don't have a point where an animal gives birth to a dog. You don't ever get an animal that gives birth to something that is completely different to its parents. The parents give birth to an animal which is the same as it, but over a very, very long period of time, when you're looking at animal at this point, and you go back through all them different things, you'll get a little, you'll notice a little tiny change here, and then a little bit of a change here, and a little tiny bit of a change there. So when you go from where this animal not first started, but a point in time where this animal looks like this, and you go forward in time like that, you get an animal that looks vastly different to this animal, and you can end up with a completely different species. You've only got to look at the what's it called? It's gone extinct now, but is it the Tasmanian tiger or whatever it is? Now, when you look at that, because we've got photos of what the animal actually looked like, it's hard to distinguish whether it is actually a tiger, as in a cat type, or an actual dog type. It is very. You can look at it and call it a cat kind, or you look at it and go, well, actually, it's more like a dog. That animal is hard to distinguish which one it is. So you can see how animals can change over time. But anyway, we're going right off topic again.
yeah. But I'm about to call it a night, bro. So I'm glad we did it, and some great points were brought up, and so. I guess you
trying to keep on point really, because like I say, we're halfway through this bit of a video here, and we're not going to get to the end of it.
No, yeah, you're right. I'm about to shut it down here in like 5 minutes or so. But Paul, I appreciate you coming in, man. And this is better than me just playing the video from yesterday, because the audio got super horrible. So, but I did want to show you because you said like there's no proof, right? But do you know that they found what's it called? Gotham and Samora. They found Noah's Ark. They found Jesus' tomb. They found Noah's tomb.
Which they haven't. They really haven't.
They really have. They really have.
Even the one. Oh, seriously, Iger, that is not the one. They moved from that now to a different one. Seriously, that is not. They're now not claiming that that's the Ark. That was from 20, 30 years ago. No. Seriously, if I had time, I would show you. That is now not the Ark that they say they found. They found another one, which is actually still in ice.
Who's they, bro?
When
you say they,
that found it. If we had time, if I had time, I would go onto the YouTube. I'd show you the video of it, and they now disregard this one. They've gone to a different one. Seriously, they have.
Who say?
2 years ago.
Who say the atheist that on YouTube that you watch every day?
No, Christians have found it.
Was it in the mountains of Ararat?
Yes.
Okay. You mind if I play a quick clip real quick before I leave? Nobody's watching right now, but yeah, I'm gonna play this 60-second video.
Flood, a universal flood, has been. If an astounding.
I gotta mute myself because if not, the audio doesn't play well.
Yeah, I'll mute myself, and while you're playing that, in fact, I'll just.
You mute it. You don't have to mute yourself. It's just me, because if not, it echoes.
Yeah. What I'll do is, while you're doing that, I'll have a look on my phone and see if I can find the one. It's about 2 years ago. That one that you showed. They're saying that one isn't the Ark. What they're saying now is they've found another one. So I'll mute myself while I search.
If an astounding thing so great as a flood, a universal flood, has been upon this earth, you'd think that there'd be ample evidence to prove it. The Lord said, as it was in the days of Noah, so shall it be in the days of the coming of the Son of Man. God saw the wickedness of man was great in the earth, and that every imagination, the thoughts of his heart was only evil continually. The Lord said, I will destroy man whom I have created from the face of the earth, for it repenteth me that I've made them. And behold, I do bring a flood of waters upon the earth to destroy all flesh, and everything that is in the earth shall die. The length of the ark shall be 300 cubits, the breadth of it 50 cubits, the height of it 30 cubits.
It's
The
a
Lord said,
man-made
as it was in
structure.
the days of Noah, so shall it be in the days of the coming of the Son of Man.
Right, I found it, so I can just show you. Let me just go off this now and see if I can show it. Can you hear me? Again? Can you hear me, Iger?
I can hear you. Hey, but check this out, bro. You can go to Turkey and you ask anybody in Turkey where Noah's Ark is, and there's signs and everything. Just like if you were going to Daytona Beach here in Florida.
Yeah.
And you can go visit it. They have a gift shop and everything.
Yeah, right. I'm not disputing that, but what you've got to do then is explain this, because they're telling you that there is Noah's Ark, right?
Yeah,
now
yeah.
what I'm telling you is, let me share my screen, because this only happened about 2 years ago. Seriously, this happened about 2 years ago. That's just rock formation. Let me share my screen.
Well, they go in there and they measure.
I know, Iger, but I know all about this one. Seriously, I know all about this one. I don't need to see it. I need to show you this bit, because they can't both be true. That's my point, is they cannot both be true. So let me share this screen.
I'm gonna stick to this one here, where it's sanctioned by the government of Turkey or whatnot. But yeah, you can share your screen, bro. But I gotta go in, Paul. I hope you have a good birthday, and I hope you go out there and do a lot of great things today. And how long is this video that you want to share? Because I shared like a 60-second clip just now.
Not at all. Absolutely not long at all. In fact, we'll probably spend more time talking about it at the moment than if I actually just show it. So if you'll just share my screen. I don't know, a minute, if that, a minute or two. We don't have to watch all of it anyway.
I'll give you a minute, bro, but then we're gonna wrap it up, the closing statements and whatnot.
Yeah, all right, no worries, man.
All right, but yeah, they did find. Oh man, before I let you share your screen, there's a 20-minute documentary, which I'll put a link on the stream real quick if anybody wants to listen to it. It's 20 minutes long. I mean, it's not gonna kill anybody. And then there's a 2-hour documentary, which there's a description to it in this video. It's crazy.
Can I just share mine then?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, can you stick it on?
I'm coming. Sharing your screen, man. Sharing your screen. Go for it.
They claim to be real-life raiders of the Lost Ark. A group of Chinese explorers say they found Noah's famed boat, and Sydney-siders will be among the first to see inside.
This dark wooden room could rewrite history. The people who found it claim it's a cabin inside Noah's Ark.
We are like 99.9% like it is Noah's Ark. Yeah.
A team of Chinese and
It's like
Turkish
a just
explorers
info
say
video.
they discovered the giant boat in 2009.
That's just my
It's
opinion.
buried in ice more than 4,000 meters above sea level on top of Mount Ararat in
Discredit
Turkey.
the video I was
The
trying to
group
show.
carefully recorded their expeditions and want the world to see them.
Yeah, it's the first time to see that, to have the footage. It's the first time. So it's a historical finding.
They've since turned their quest for the Ark into a movie. In August, Sydney will
Where's
be
it
the
at?
first city
What's
in the
this,
world to be taken on a
It's a lot
tour
of
inside.
cartoons and all. That actually. Okay.
Over the years, countless explorers have claimed a similar discovery, and this latest find hasn't silenced the skeptics. But the movie's makers want audiences to come along and decide for themselves. Melinda Nusafora, 10 News.
This is how fast YouTube.
Yeah, so that's the one at the moment. And if you go on to, do you know Otangelo, who's a Christian guy from Brazil? He's actually spoken to I believe he's a scientist, who's been there and actually looked at it. So if you go to his channel, go.
Sorry.
Yeah, so if you go to Otangelo's channel, he's got a lot of coverage on this. And like I said, it was only found in, well, it turns out it was in 2009 it was found.
Where's it at?
Mount Ararat.
Also in Ararat?
Yep.
You know, it's funny when you look at Ararat, bro, they have a lot. I wouldn't doubt that they found a cabin in Ararat because that's where civilization started. According to just about every ancient text.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, both of these, this one that you're showing and the one that they're showing, they both cannot be right.
Well, I would argue that what you found was a cabin, just like they said on the video you played. They didn't find the ark itself; they found a cabin. So somebody might have built the cabin afterwards. There's also a village of 8. They found Noah's tomb. Oh my gosh, bro! You can go on of all the stuff they find in Ararat, which is probably where the cradle of life is, as we know today. But yeah, actually, that supports my theory, bro, not yours. That we come from pond, Salina camp fish or gold bony fish or whatever.
Like I keep saying to you, Iger, that isn't what I believe.
What do you believe, Paul?
Right, I've just explained to you. I don't know how life first got started. That is the correct answer. I don't need to make something up to make my to make a belief. I don't need to do that. I will remain I don't know until there is enough evidence for me to make a decision. Like I say, when it comes to evolution, I don't know enough about evolution to be able to go through all the different things that builds up to life the way it is today. I'm quite happy to say that I don't know how evolution works, and I don't know how life first got started on the earth. I'm not going to go follow some story from 2,000 years ago that claims that man, Adam and Eve were put into a garden. They were fully grown-up human beings, and that's where all life, all human life originally came from. And they're not going to believe that God got upset with his creation, decided to flood all of the earth, apart from 8 people on a boat, a 600-year-old guy on a boat, plus 7 of his family, and believe that all the animals and all the human life originates from that boat 4,000 years ago. I just cannot believe something as ridiculous as that. I can't.
But then you don't believe in anything. Again.
No, I do believe in things. I believe in things that I can see. I believe in myself. I believe in life. I believe in humanity. I believe in many things. But when it comes to the big questions in life, as in where did life originally come from? How does evolution work? I don't know. I don't have the answers to them. And my answer is always going to be, I don't know until I'm given enough evidence to have an answer. I'm not going to make something up or choose. I must believe this or I must believe this. My answer is, I don't know where life originated from. So to say that I believe that I came from, the Kent Hovind bloody argument where the rock cooled down and the rains and the soup and all this lot. No, that's not a belief. I just don't have to have an answer to things, and I can still believe in things. Like I say, I believe in myself, I believe in life, I believe in humanity, I believe what I can see, I believe in a lot of things. But I've got to have, for me to believe something, I've got to have sufficient evidence to hold that belief. I'm not going to hold a belief without sufficient evidence to be convinced that that is true.
That's cool, bro. I mean, but you know, it's kind of nice to teach the opposite too. Like, I feel like I grew up just believing in mainstream narrative.
Oh
like,
yeah, I enjoy having these conversations. I enjoy having conversations with you. I mean, me and you, so far, we seem to be able to have a conversation with each other without getting too irate and getting into insulting and arguing. I quite enjoy having these conversations with you. And you know, you might believe in the flat Earth, and I don't. You might believe in you know, what the Bible says and whatever, and I don't. But don't mistake that the fact that I don't believe what you believe, that I think you're an idiot. I don't. I wouldn't be conversing in a conversation with you if I thought you was a bloody idiot. I don't think you're an idiot. I think you're quite an intelligent guy. You put across your point really well. Your arguments are quite good and well constructed, and that's why I enjoy having these conversations with you. And I hope we can carry on having these conversations.
Yeah, and I agree, because you know, you get into some of these conversations and it gets into like a name calling match, and nothing is presented. But you know, what I found out lately, bro, is you guys have lightning storms over where you're at without much rain.
Yeah, we get lightning, yeah.
So you can actually see the reflection of what you would call the I guess the atmosphere. I would call it firmament nowadays, which is what God made on day 2. So next time you have a lightning storm, bro, which we probably get some here around June, where I'm at in the East Coast, and I'm in Florida, so I get more than a lot of people. But you can actually go outside, and when the lightning strikes, you can see a reflection on the roof, the ceiling, el cielo, they call it. You know, the sky's the limit. So, but really, the firmament is the limit, and nobody has been passed to the moon. Give me a break. There's been so many different other conspiracy channels that have done. I personally like 2 quick movies for the moon landings. They're both by Bart Sibrel. One's called A Funny Thing Happened on the Way to the Moon. The other one's called Astronauts Gone Wild. And they're both by Bart Sibrel. But you could, in 2 hours, you can learn more about the moon than surfing NASA's webpage for a month. Believe me, because I looked at it, but he actually documented some stuff. So he made 2 great documentaries there. But he's not a flat earther, but he doesn't believe we went to the moon. I don't believe we went to Mars. I don't believe we ever been anywhere. I think you know, the Earth is flat and stationary just because that's how it is. I don't have to add any theories like gravity or black holes or string theory or multiverses or anything like that. You look at every ancient civilization, every ancient cosmology, there's a heaven above you, a hell below you, and that's kind of how it is. But yeah, definitely it seems like there's a war going on for you to not believe in God, or for you to believe in God. I don't know why, but it's crazy how it seems that way.
Yeah, I mean, basically, I've never had a God belief. In the UK, it's not a particularly religious country. People do old, you know, they will say that they're Christians or whatever, but they never go to church. My parents would have classed themselves as Christians if they were asked years ago, but they never went to church, apart from it was weddings, funerals, or christenings. And that's a lot of what you know, I can't speak for everybody, but most people in the UK generally aren't that religious. They might say that they're Christian, but you ask them anything in what's written in the Bible, and they've got absolutely no idea because they're not actually interested in it. Which is, to me, it makes it a much better place to live, because nobody cares about what you believe. I can meet somebody today, become friends with somebody today, and obviously I have done in the past, I can know them and interact with them for 10, 20 years. And seriously, the subject of God or religion never comes up. It just doesn't come up. The last thing you do, not due to respect or anything like that, the last thing anybody ever does is ask you whether you have a God belief in the UK. People just don't care. I can know people for years and have no idea what religion, or if they hold a religion, or where they are on the religious scale. Seriously, I can know people for years. I married my wife 32 years this year. So I married my wife 32 years ago. It wasn't until I started talking about religion into 2 or 3 years after we got married that my wife said, "Well, I don't really have a belief." So I was married to my wife without actually knowing whether she actually had a God belief, because that's how it is in the UK. People just don't care.
Yeah, and that's that's one of the great goals of Satan, to deceive the whole world. So
but saying that though, it does make it a much more peaceful.
Wait. Talk for like 2 minutes. Let me talk. So all I want to ask you is a quick question. What's the greatest trick the devil ever pulled? Have you heard that?
I've heard of it, yeah. But
what's the answer to that?
The answer is convincing people it didn't exist, I think. Convincing people that it didn't exist.
Right. So, but what does he have to do to accomplish that? Is convince the world that God doesn't exist. So if God doesn't exist, then the devil doesn't exist. But we got, earlier you were talking about like Hinduism and Buddhism and all these other religions, how they don't agree with each other. But my point of view now is according to Genesis 6, the devil came down, made it with mankind. Well, the devil, he brought down 33% of the angels with him. So a lot of the Roman gods and pagan gods and Norse gods and all these other different gods, the Egyptian gods, especially because we see them more readily now. They're pushed through our media. But all these other gods came with the devil when he fell from heaven. And that's my new belief system. And it's interesting. As you progress through life, you're just buying everything that you're being fed through mainstream media. But it all seems to try to push you away from the Bible, a distraction, or evolution. For example, they teach you come from an amoeba that turned into a fish. The fish turns into what is a fish? Amphibian. The amphibian turns into a bird. The bird turns into a mammal. And then the mammal, after being a rat or whatever, it turns into a human.
Yeah, that's a fairly simplistic way of explaining it. That's
what.
Anyway, I'm really going to have to jump off because it's 3 minutes past 9, and in 7 minutes I've got to take the wife to work. So
all right,
but yeah, we'll have to do this again at some point.
Me too, bro.
And we'll have to try and stay on topic.
60 seconds closing statement. You go first. I'll go second.
Yeah, I've enjoyed chatting with you. The wife's looking now; she's wanting me to go. Yeah, I've enjoyed chatting with you. I love these types of conversations. Like I said, as far as I'm concerned, we live on a globe. I think all the evidence points to the fact that we live on a globe. Living on a globe explains everything. Not believing we live on a globe opens more questions and that it can't answer. And with that, I'll end there.
Sounds good, bro. I'll refute that real quick with saying astrolabes, planispheres, instruments we use nowadays to look at the sky. We mapped them out a long time ago before we lived on the globe, and they still work today. So I'll say a quick serenity prayer. Is God, please grant us the serenity to accept the things we cannot change, the strength to change the things we can, and the wisdom to know the difference. And a sinner's prayer for you, Paul. Thank you for stopping by. But if you ever want to come to Christ and accept the God, also please teach your kids about God, not just about evolution and the Big Bang. But you don't lose anything there. It's all history. It's all ancient books. Good stuff. Either way, here's the sinner's prayers. Dear Lord Jesus, I know that I'm a sinner and ask for your forgiveness. I believe you died for my sins and rose from the dead. I turn from my sins and invite you to come into my heart and life. I want to trust you and follow you as my Lord and Savior. All right, good night. Good night, Paul. I hope you come to Christ one of these days, and I'll see you tomorrow.
In fact, don't forget tonight, 9 o'clock my time, if you're about, jump onto my channel. I'm doing an open chat for my birthday. I hope to see you there. But I'm going to have to go because my wife's literally hovering outside.
I'm leaving too. I'll put a link to your channel. Thank you for stopping in, and happy birthday again. And I'll talk to you next time, bro. Have a good night.
Yeah, I'm you. Cheers, Iger. Catch you later. Bye.
Cheers.
That is the first time I've actually watched it all the way through. And all I can say is to you that have stuck through from the start to the end, man, that took some doing. Well, I hope you enjoyed it. I've got a couple more that I need to start putting on my stream. I was on the Tart Show, a good month or more back now. So I'm going to get in touch with the Tart Show and ask them if I can stream it onto here. I was on Brainbug's channel also about 3 or 4 weeks ago. I've already spoken to him. He says I can put it on my channel as well, so I'm going to put that on. So I'm going to try and get a bit more content out. But what did you think of that then? I don't know if you could see what I was saying. It was painful because of watching him on Modern Day Debates last night. And him using exactly the same arguments verbatim. He really did. And the video was the exact same video. And the fact that I'd covered some of the things that he brought up last night, and especially about the globe, when I actually showed him how it worked, I don't see how he can still use that as an argument when he knows that he's wrong. He absolutely knows that he's wrong. I've spoke to Vince from Music and Analyst Reactions. He's the guy who actually did the opening video for me. Great guy. I have great conversations with him. We disagree on most things. But again, I can have a great conversation with him. I showed him the exact same thing by taking a photo of the globe. And he was quite blown away with it. He went, wow, how the hell did you do that? And I said, well, I've just shown you. And he agreed. And he said, I can no longer use that as an argument. You've absolutely debunked it. So at least he was an honest person. He listened to he would take time. He would listen to what I said, and he would take notice of what was being said. Whereas with Iger, it seems to be that once you start coming up with something that's good evidence against what he's saying, he quickly changes the subject and basically just hand waves it away. When I was bringing up the video that I was showing that we never ever got to the end of, there was only about another minute to go. But if you watch it from start to finish, it absolutely debunks totally. I don't know how there's any way of arguing about it, and I think he knows that, and that's why he changes the subject so quick. He's dodging. He's in a position that he does not ever want to get out of. He believes the Bible is 100% accurate, absolutely. He believes it's the Bible is one of the reasons why he believes that with what's in the Bible, why the earth is flat, and argues about the firmament and all this lot. And I think if you could actually take him up into space to look back down at Earth, he still won't believe. He would refuse. He would come up with some reason to why it was fake. He's been put in a simulator or something like that. He just would not have it. Anyway, yeah, thanks for staying for as long as you have. Like I say, it's the first time I've actually watched it myself, and I didn't realise how much hard work it was, but it really was hard work. But anyway, again, lovely. Thanks very much for everybody turning up. I'm going to end it here. I'll put my little closing video on, and I'll get another one sorted to put on hopefully this next week, and hopefully you'll enjoy that one as well. So I'll catch you all later. And Junk Shop, I'm using your mug, and it's got tea in it, not bloody coffee. Right, I'll end with my video, and I'll catch you all later. In fact, I'll just say, oh, Mark Caesar's here. Yeah, cheers for coming, Mark. Wild Eden, I think you've been in almost from the start. Junk Shop, you've been here from the beginning. My Lord, I don't know how you've done it, fella. I really don't. But thanks for coming in. I believe we did have a flat earther in earlier on, didn't we? Let me have a look through the chats. If it's probably too far away, it's probably gone. Yeah, was it? How the hell do you say that name? Cries Sat Night PhD. All images NASA provides show a circle. Trust your senses, mate. Yeah. Seems like Paul, you haven't watched the original moon landings. Yeah, now put on. This is about the shape of the Earth, not the moon landings. Sure, mate. What was that one? Horrible. Let me see. Yeah, he did put something on an early one. Oh, but I do be eyeing. The globe is reality. Yeah, totally agree. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, put on about the globe, not for educational. This is that PhD bloke. He put on the globe is not for educational purposes. He's actually wrong there. The globe is for educational purposes. It's not for navigational purposes. You can educate people by showing them the globe. You just wouldn't use the globe as a way of navigating. So I don't know what he meant by that. But anyway, I'm going to waffle on too long if I don't end it here. So yeah, thank you all for turning up, and I'm going to end it now. I'm going to put my little video on, and I'll catch you all later. Bye.